So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back once again to the greatest watch market update and the only one that's a public service watch announcement channel, that we try to tell you what's happening out there because nobody else is doing it. So, we might as well do it and tell you what's happening out there. Before I get into the show, please don't forget to show some kind of love by giving us a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, believe me, you won't regret it. This is the only channel that's bringing in some real public service watch announcement, information, knowledge, whatever you want to call it. So please do us a favor with that. All right, guys? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, yesterday I was talking about that we were celebrating, what's happening over there in Pennsylvania, within Pennsylvania, what they did over there with peace in the Middle East, peace in the Middle East. And we were talking about what they did, and we were celebrating, and we're still celebrating it. But I have to give you some information that is good information for you guys. I'm sure many of you know this already, but this is to the ones that don't know about it still. We're going to tell you what's going on. As you know, they made a peace. They made a peace deal with the guy from Pennsylvania Avenue. He went over there and he spoke to all these people over there. They got together. They shook hands. They look at each other's eyes, and they came into agreement. So they let go of those people that were over there. The Hamas people had over there. They let them free. They let them free, and they were supposed to also give back, bodies that they would deceive. They passed away. I don't know how they passed away, but something to that. And they returned the people, but the bodies of the people that were dead, they didn't return that back. But that's not the whole thing. The whole thing here is that, ladies and gentlemen, that gentleman from Pennsylvania Avenue made a big agreement with these people, and he made a big agreement. And I always thought it was kind of, iffy, kind of iffy. But ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to believe this. Hamas, that group, Hamas, is already back at it. They're back at it, and they are committing executions. They're committing executions over there, and the Hamas people, putting them on the floor and, boom, in the head. I mean, it sounds terrible, and it is terrible. It's something is out of control. So, the guy from Pennsylvania Avenue already said that they got to stop this, that we did something. We shook hands on it. We have Marquito Rubio and all that good stuff. But the people from Hamas, esa gente son el diablo, Satanás. And they're already, committing atrocities over there, killing people, and kneeling them down and boom, right here, la nuca, So why I'm saying that? Because, things are not as, we thought they were, with those people, it's very hard to do some kind of business deal with them because they don't, I don't want to use the wrong terminology and, say the wrong thing because this is something very serious and you have to be serious about it. But I am going to say that the peace deal that Mr. Pennsylvania Avenue did, he already said that these people, don't give up their, I don't know if it's the weapons. I don't know what it is. If they don't give up, he already said that we're going to have to take it from them. And you know what that means? That means it's a war, a war again. So it's not I'm telling you, the world is upside down. And if anybody can, saludos Aquiles. And if anybody can help me, saludos E-Gold and saludos Mike, saludos Wicked, saludos Jose. So, maybe you guys know more than me, but, this already is happening over there. Like we said, it was peace in the Middle East, and it looks like there's no peace because they gave up the people. They were hostages, but they were supposed to give back, hello, Wicked. They were supposed to give back the remains, the remains of the people that passed away, died, whatever it is, and they haven't returned that. and they're doing their own song and dance, committing atrocities against their own people over there, it's unbelievable. But I want to just say that, the Pennsylvania Avenue, the guy from Pennsylvania Avenue said already that, if these people don't stop, he was going to handle the subject, in his format, in su forma. So I'm telling you again, I believe that today it continues the government shutdown. The government shutdown is still, is turned off. It's still going on. And I want to say to all of you too that, maybe you've been thinking about that. As you guys showed me, good evening, Sodi. As you guys showed me that the longest shutdown, the government shutdown, the longest was something like 35, 32, I don't know how many days, but they're already saying they are already saying, listen to me, everything that I'm saying here is allegedly, I don't know nothing. I just read and I think that I understand what I'm reading, so just in case, everything is allegedly. I don't want no thunder lightning hitting my, TV tower and knocking the show off, the show off. I don't want that to happen. But they're saying that this shutdown might break that record that you guys show me, the 35 plus days, it might. And now with the situation also of, Hamas doing their thing, back in their country, I don't know if that's called a religion. I don't know what that is. And, it's something very touchy, but, they're not respecting, with the peace, treaty they did, and all that good stuff. The Hamas people, they don't care. And, this is what we do. We're not going to give up our arms. We're not going to give our arsenal up. Lottie, lottie, lottie. And one thing that I do want to tell you something. Again, reading is when I get to understand the big picture, see the big picture. This thing that they did, allegedly, that they did, it's not that it's, going to stop completely. It's supposed to stop. Listen to this and learn. It's supposed to stop while that guy is in Pennsylvania Avenue. That guy is in Pennsylvania Avenue. Once the guy leaves from Pennsylvania Avenue, if you guys don't understand that subliminal, the way I'm talking, I'm very sorry. Ask one of your chums, one of your recovering partner tomato cans, and they'll explain to you, that when the guy leaves the White House, they go back at it again. They go back at it again. This is meanwhile, supposedly, while that guy is in Pennsylvania Avenue, and his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, is there. Once they're gone, they go back at it again, So what I'm trying to tell you is that things are, papi, esto es una churra con mango, una churra con mango. And it's not a good thing. It's a very, you know what I'm trying to say, wicked, and I'm going to tell you something, guys, and this is why I say that things are not looking correct. Things are not looking well, and things will continue, to happen, and I do want to say something to you, changing the conversation quickly. As you know, today was another day in the precious metal, and I'm going to give you guys some numbers. And to my amaze, today, the rhodium, what they try to steal from the cars, under the cars, from the catalytic converter. I don't know how to say that word. I don't know too much, Saludo, Alex. Saludos, Mr. Alex. I don't know how to say it. I think it's catalytic converter. It's under the car, and it has rhodium, rhodium. And to my amaze, rhodium today, the troy ounce price was at $7,575. $75.75, $75.75. Ladies and gentlemen, palladium. I know that a lot of you always ask me about palladium, and you're not going to believe this. The palladium troy ounce price today was at $1,584, all the way up, all the way up. Everything is going all the way up, ladies and gentlemen. A platinum platinum took a little dive, you know, a little dive down. It went down a little bit, but nothing out of this world. You know, it just went down. And the price of platinum, ladies and gentlemen, is at $1,642 a troy ounce. Silver, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, silver is like this and like this, like this, like this, like this, and it's all over the place. I today watching, you know, looking, you know, when I get to my my real job, what I will do, I sit down and I look at, you know, what's happening, and I get to see the numbers. And very early today, platinum was at a number of $53.59 a troy ounce, you know, up to the moon, okay? Up to the moon. And ladies and gentlemen, I spoke to you guys yesterday again about this beautiful precious stone, which is yellow gold. You know, yellow, it's yellow. It's unbelievable. And ladies and gentlemen, you won't believe it. The price of a troy ounce of gold, pure gold, is at $4,178 a troy ounce. So I wanted to tell you what's happening, you know, with these people over there in Hamas, you know, already committing atrocities against their own people today, right now, you know, executing people right there. And the guy from Pennsylvania Avenue, they left him homeless. The guy from Pennsylvania Avenue, he's homeless. And little pet Marquito, you know, he's homeless too, you know, tú sabes, eso es lo que hay. Maybe you guys don't understand what I'm trying to say, pero this is why everything is going crazy. And the guy already from Pennsylvania Avenue, he said, listen, if these motherfuckers don't stop, we're going to stop them. And the only way you're going to stop them is you go into what? Into a war. Porque esa gente tan loco. You know, they were supposed to give up all the hostages. They did that, but they were supposed to give also the remains. You know, I don't know how to use that word too much. The remains of the people that died, you know, and they haven't given that up, you know. So they haven't given the remains, and they're putting people on their knees and they shooting them en la nuca, you know, in the head. Esta gente son unos locos, you know. So, you know, now you have little Marquito and Pennsylvania Avenue. They're frustrated because this situation is going on. I gave you the prices of precious. The deal is broken. Correct, you know, and that's what happens when the deal is broken. In life, you must correct. You know, in life we correct. You know, you correct athletes, you correct movie stars, entertainers. You correct them. You know, like what they did to Dave Chappelle. They corrected him. You know, they corrected him so much he doesn't even look like him no more. But that's just me, what I'm saying. I'm only telling you what it is, you know. And so I'm going to tell you something now. I'm going to jump into something else. Saludos, Doc Make in Florida. Saludos to you. I'm going to say something to you guys too. So when you hear this, when you hear these names, when you hear the name, you know, the bull, you know, the bull, right? It's just, you know, the bull, you know, the one with the horns, you know, the bull. You know, when you hear that the bull is getting involved, you know, Wall Street is going to get involved in the gold business itself, you know. Wall Street already declared we're getting involved in gold because Gold Street is una jodienda. It's what I told you. You know, when you see these monsters, you know what? We're going to do a crossover. You know, we're going to do another blow. You know, we're going to do another crossover like the movie stars. You know, they go from Spanish to English. You know, a movie star, you know, Penelope Cruz, she was for real a Latina actor, a Spanish actor, and she did a crossover to the American side. So this is the same thing that Wall Street now is making a crossover. We're going into gold. You know, we're going into gold. And what Wall Street said today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not laughing today. I'm not laughing because it's serious. What Wall Street said, and when Wall Street talks, you listen. You know, B.H. Hutton, You listen, I don't know, it was a commercial, BF Huffin, BH, I don't know what it was, but somebody would say when BH Hutton talks, everybody listens, you know? So the same thing with Wall Street. When they talk, you know, you got to stop for a moment and say, hold on, these motherfroggers are getting involved in the gold business too, you know? And they already set just like this, okay? Just to get you out of, you know, el mareo este. They already set that gold is going to hit $5,000. Wall Street Journal. I mean, not Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal is a newspaper, right? Wall Street. You know, the bull, the guy, you know, the big bull over there. He already said it's going to hit $5,000. Cuando esa gonorrea, when these gonorrheas say, you know, así, Wall Street, you know, Wall Street, this is going to hit 5,000. E.F. Hutton. I didn't want. I wanted to be serious. Let me compose myself. E.F. Hutton, thank you so much. Doc Mick in Florida. Thank you so much. I don't even know what I was talking about, but that was, somebody help me out. Doc, help me out. What was I saying? Somebody help me out. This is your show. What was I saying? Well, these lambones, you know, from over there from Wall Street, you know, when they say that, you know, gold is going to hit $5,000, you know, you go, hold on. And then, you know, what they say, Wall Street, you know, they say the Wall Street gold bull run is, like I told you yesterday, this is why I stay amazed. You know, Sweet Kid Kino's not here today. I'm all alone. But this is when I get amazed with him, because I told you, okay, gold is going fast. Like over there, that expressway in Germany, you know, the people go 500 miles an hour, you know, and the Ferraris and the Porsches, you know, and all that, Mercedes, they run. I don't know what the name of it too much, but over there in Germany, I think it's called the Autobahn. I don't know, something like that, right? So these people from Wall Street, you're not going to believe what they're saying. You know, they're saying que son animales, you know, they're too big. Wall Street gold bull run is accelerating to numbers never seen. Vroom, accelerating, you know? Vroom, vroom, that's it, the Autobahn, that's it. Vroom, it's accelerating, you know? And you're not going to believe this, ladies and gentlemen. You're not going to believe this. But these people, you need to listen to me carefully, to the ones who are getting involved in gold. These people are like E.F. Hutton, you know? Everybody stops to listen, you know? And they said already. I don't know what year it is, you know? 27, 28, 29, 30, 26. You know what I'm saying? Because these people don't believe what they're telling you. Believe what they're saying in the sense of not the years. You know, if they say it's going to hit this mark in 2030, they're playing with you, because estos son los vaqueros. These are the cowboys are coming in, and they're coming in blazing. You know, Wall Street, papi. Wall Street. Somebody help me, please. You know, don't expect me to tell you everything. You say something too. But they're saying, ladies and gentlemen, que está brutal esto. I need some jungle juice, man, to tell you this, man. It's unbelievable. Doc Mick made me laugh too much. I'm going to be honest. E.F. Hutton, man. That was great. They are saying, ladies and gentlemen, Google it if you want. It's going to hit $10,000. Plain and simple. $10,000. $10,000. Thurston Howell III, you know I have a lot of respect for you. And you're right about that. They already said 5,000. Wall Street said this thing is going 5,000. But you know, Wall Street hangs out, you know, with another, some of these big shots, you know. Some of these big shots, they hang out together, you know. I mean, it's unbelievable. Right now, major institutions are pouring money into precious metals alongside BRICS nations expanding their reserves. No comas mierda, papi. BRICS, you know? Does anybody know what BRICS is? You know, can somebody help me out? Because, you know, sometimes I get kind of dizzy, you know? You know what's to say that? Right now, major institutions are putting all their money into precious metals alongside BRICS nations expanding their reserves. Papi, fuego, papi, fire for everybody. Fire, 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 boom, boom. That's it. Thank you so much for helping me out. Fire. I told you guys everything. Mira para eso, Brasil, Rusia, India, China, South Africa. Papi, todo el mundo, papi. What does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? What do you understand when you hear BRICS? Everybody together. Let's go. Put everything there. What does that mean? What are they saying? Tell me, what are they saying? I need to know. I got to explain to Kino later on what that means. Estamos jodidos, muchachos. All the way to the moon. All the way. They're getting away from the dollar because the dollar today, what does it buy you? A penny. A penny. You understand me? Because when I come here to drop on you guys, I take time, you know, from, you know, romancing Caramia. You know who Caramia is? Caramia is my wife. You know, I take time out of, you know, calling her Caramia. You know, I come here to talk to you guys. I'm telling you what it is. Gold instead of the dollar. I'm telling you what it is, Papi, because I'm telling you, I wake up every day. I don't know what time you guys wake up. I don't know. I don't know what time you guys wake up, but I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, I walk around the house. I scratch myself a little bit, you know, put the coffee to, you know, I look outside. I see a couple of birds flying, you know, whatever, you know. And I see what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. And I have to tell you this because nobody is going to tell you because, you know, our world, so we don't use, you know, words that I can get a lightning on my TV antenna. You know, they're dumbing down on us, you know, dumbing down on us. And they don't want nobody, you know. Only if there were 1 million people like me talking like this every day, it would help out the world, you know, because they're just dumbing down. Ladies and gentlemen, I gotta tell you something else. You know, we have to, you know, every other week or once a week, we get a container that comes in, you know, far away from overseas. And the ones that bring those containers in are the truckers, you know, truckers, you know, from around the world. You know, we bring, you know, a load from Atlanta, from California, you know, I'm talking about, so you understand, I'm making a story here for you. And you have all these trucking companies that they're very important to the United States of America, or maybe even the world. How's that? The world. All the countries, you know, they need truckers, you know, to move around loads, you know. But ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you something that this is when we talk about here in this channel, we talk about, you know, HTC, you know, HTC, and we talk about, you know, the fentanyl, people staying still for like an hour and don't move, you know, all that good stuff, you know, who's doing this. And I gotta tell you exactly, exactly, papi. Gracias grande. Trucking, they're a big, big, important piece. Let's say the United States of America, but I got a bone to pick, with a lot of these, 9/11 stores, 9/11, listen and learn, 9/11 stores, I got a big problem with convenience stores and all that good stuff, ladies and gentlemen. And you might be thinking, why? Well, hold on, I'm going to tell you. I am going to tell you. So you get prepared. If I believe that some of you are fathers here and you have children, some of you are grandfathers, some of you are uncles, brothers, and all that good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, to my amaze, ladies and gentlemen, I think about this, and I get kind of, it gets kind of scary, And this thing that I'm going to talk to you, ladies and gentlemen, is sold all over the United States in gasoline stations, you know that, and convenience stores, and 9/11 stores, 9/11 stores, those people, all those 9/11 stores, And ladies and gentlemen, they have something there that they're selling that when I tell you, your hairs are going to stand up the punta and you're going to tonight say, man, where does this guy, get, it's like, where does Batman get all these toys, I feel sometimes like I'm Batman, And ladies and gentlemen, they have this thing that they sell there. And, in those 9/11 stores, some people ask me, so what is 9/11? Coño, no seas gilipollas, mi hermano. No seas un lambón y un palomo. 9/11. Work with the numbers, Charlie. So they're selling something, a product. They're selling a product in these, convenience stores, stock food. You follow me? You follow me, right? And ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to believe this, ladies and gentlemen. And they have names, street names. They have street names. And they call it Tang. And they call it Caquam. And they call it Key Turn. Key Turn. They call it Herbal. They call it Speedball. You know that? They call it Speedball. And they sell this in one of those convenience stores, one of those 9/11s, and all that good stuff, ladies and gentlemen. And ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to believe me when I'm telling you this. This is in the store. Not this is illegal. No. It's legal. Papi, it's legal. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, the name of this, here it goes. So you can start Googling right away. It's called Kratom. It comes in a little bottle. You pop it, the Kratom, It comes in a little powder. It comes, it's unbelievable, this Kratom, And ladies and gentlemen, you might be asking yourself, how can they be selling that? Well, they're selling that, ladies and gentlemen, in all these stores, gasoline stations, 9/11s, convenience stores. It's unbelievable. Thank you very much, Grande. At least somebody understands what I'm saying. At least somebody. Let me spell it to you. It's spelled Kratom, ladies and gentlemen. It's unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. And you might be asking yourself, and what is it used for? Okay, I'll tell you what it's used for, because you need to know. It's used to, Esto es increíble. Kratom is used by some self-treated, to self-treat conditions such as, chronic pain, chronic back pain, to cure opioid. I don't know how to say that. Opioid. Help me out. No say gilipollas. Help me out. Opioid. I don't know. Opioid. I think it's spelled OPIOID. I don't know. It's unbelievable. Opioid. When you have withdrawals, you take that. Unbelievable what these people are doing. Who is doing this to the people, ladies and gentlemen? I want to know who is doing this to the people of America. Selling over the counter. You pay. You pay the guy over there in the 9-11. You pay the guy in the convenience store. You pay the guy in, stock food, whatever you want to call it. You go there. Exactly. Those are the ones, Sodi. You said it. I didn't say it. You said it. You said it. You said it, Sodi. Sodi said it. I didn't say it. I will never say such a thing. Let me drink some jungle juice because this is getting good. It's unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot continue listening to unboxing watches. Not right now. No, not right now. Too many things happening. The Fent, the HTC, it's unbelievable. And now they have this, that you walk in, the trucker comes in with a big cowboy hat, those Wrangler jeans on, and he comes in and he goes, let me get one of those. Let me get one of those, liquid, bah! Hey, ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you this, you're not going to believe me. You're not going to believe me. You must Google it. You must Google it. Because when you hear this, it's going to blow your mind. So if you have grandchildren, children, nephews, whatever it is that you have, you need to be on top because they're bombarding us with this new thing, ladies and gentlemen. This thing over here, even, what it's good for, they say? It's unbelievable for anxiety. Anxiety. And ladies and gentlemen, let me give you something else. What causes, what it can give you when you take this thing. I'm telling you, this is what's happening in the United States of America. I have never seen it. I did level 4 of THC, whatever you call that, CHT, whatever, 4, They have it today at 90% potent, 80%, 70%. The thing for Fent, over there too. And ladies and gentlemen, when you hear the effects, the severe cases, psychosis resulting from use of, oh my God, this kratom, you get, hallucinating. You know what hallucinating is? That's what those people from the, ICA, it's like, that, I don't know if it's called, I think it's called DSL, DSL, they will, put it, let me show you guys. I'm going to give you a demonstration because ustedes son palomo, this thing like this right here. You see this right here? You see it, right? And put it right there and you become Ozzy Osbourne. Unbelievable. You put this in here y ya queda como totón, como totón, okay? And that's it, So you start hallucinating, you don't know what's going. This is what that thing that somebody said it here. Somebody said it in our Recovering Tomato Can channel. Somebody said it that you know who sells it. You can say it again, Grande. You can say it again. Who sells it, ladies and gentlemen? And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, the symptoms including hallucinating, delusion. You know what's called delusion? Confusion. Papi, esto es una locura. Esto es una locura. You know what I'm saying, Grande. You know what I'm saying, papi. You know. So who is giving this? Who is allowing to give this? Here's the punchline. The number ones that discover that use that, because they're the whole day, I'm going to be serious now, they're the whole day driving, they have back pains, driving 22 hours straight, get off the truck, take a leak, probably have some kind of prostate problems. Listen and learn, guys. I'm dropping knowledge now and real knowledge. They're not feeling well, got to go to the bathroom, back pain, anxiety, nervous, side effects. Una locura, una locura. It was the truckers of America. You know, the truckers that went to Washington, D.C. one day and they parked all the cars in front of the White House. You don't know about that stuff. You don't know about that stuff because you want to continue skip hopping around through life like rabbits. Because you guys want to keep on, seeing, I'm going to open a new box of a watch. I'm going to show you my strap. No, Papi, you need to get prepared with this. Before you go into watches, you need to know what's going on in America. In America, because nobody's telling you, not ABC, not CBS, and not NBC. They're not telling you that. Fox is not telling you that. CNN is not telling you that. You know who's telling you that? Juan Felipe Nieves. Go ahead, hit me. Hit me. It's unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you right now, they were the ones, those truckers of America were the ones that discovered that. Can you believe that? Those truckers, going from Miami to Panama City, 11 hours straight, going through Alabama, Alabama, New Orleans. You know what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen? Those truckers were the one that discovered that. You need to know about this, Papi. This is what they're doing to us. They're dumbing down on us. So those truckers need it because what they do. But ladies and gentlemen, these people, they're insects, are children of today. Son insectos, they're insects. They find out because probably one of those young kids has a father that, he drives one of those trucks with the big horn, and he notices that his father's always carrying one of those things to, put in his mouth and, and this and that. And ladies and gentlemen, the number one customer, as Mr. Grande said to you, the number one customer of all those convenience stores, gasoline stations, 911s, 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 the number one customer they have. This is why today, la juventud, the young generation, están perdidos. They're lost. They're bombarding our grandchildren, our children, our brothers, nephews, grandkids with that. That is the new thing. Papi, this is unbelievable. And if anybody can tell me who is the one, who is the one, somebody might say it can be, I don't know, Fuse, I don't know, one of those names, but they're giving this. You walk in, you don't need to get a prescription. You just walk in and you say, I'll take the power drink. I'll take the powder. I'll take this. Papi, right there, give it to me. Hey, Patao, give it to me, Patao. You know what I'm saying? Give it to me. And they give it to you. So this is the new thing that I need to tell you, and I continuously tell you always. They're dumbing down on all of us, man. I mean, I haven't seen something in attack like in power, power. Power. You know what, Papi, but this is, somebody's saying something about vapes, right? But when you start using words like psychotic, Papi, psychotic es una jodienda. Psychotic, your eyes están botadas para afuera, you're confused, you're delusional. You believe that what you're talking to, instead of being a human being, is a rabbit, a rabbit. A real rabbit, a big oversized rabbit. You're talking to that, or you're talking to a boxing black eyes. You're delusion. Está jodido. Está jodido. And they saying that this thing está acabando con America. It's finishing America. And if you go to those, small town USA, and you go to small town USA, and the people there, they have a lot of farm, which is beautiful. There's nothing wrong with that. That's beautiful. I love to do that. But when you do that every day and that's your livelihood every day, you get kind of bored and you want to start doing experimenting on things. And those people from over there from the West, están loco, with the tang, Kikwam, key turn, key turn. Imagine the words key turn, the street name they use. Hey, you have any key turn? Key turn, herbal, or this one, ladies and gentlemen, or this name, street name, speedball. Speedball. I mean, I remember speedball being something different. I remember when I was a young kid, 19, 18, 17 years old, I heard about speedball. I don't know, I think it was free basing. I don't know what it was, but something to that. They're attacking us with that, ladies and gentlemen. They're attacking us with that, and you must be informed. Somebody needs to inform you, and this is what I'm doing. Bobby, let me tell you, that's a hard business. When I talk to these truckers, because I'm a human being that I give love to whoever it is I'm going to give love to. I'm going to stand and talk to them. And some of them ask me afterwards, who are you? And I say, I'm E.F. Hutton. The truck drivers ask me, because I'm talking to them, sitting there looking at them while they're unloading the pallets of marble or slabs, and I'm just there. And they ask me, so who are you? And I say, I'm E.F. Hutton, right? They go, wow, for real? Yeah. So we start talking, and I says, so how many hours you did today? No, I came from Alabama. I crossed the interstate, and I came down to Florida, the Panhandle, and I'm here. And I says, so how many hours you did today? I'm going to do today, probably 18 hours, and I'm back over there again. Esta gente no paran, papi. Esta gente no paran. Son una jodienda. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to let you know about that, about what's happening with Hamas. What's happening with Hamas, what's happening with gold, the way it's behaving, what's happening also in the big bad wolf Wall Street. The big bad wolf Wall Street is getting involved in the gold business. They want it all too. Papi, I told you already, es casi imposible que you told me a 16-year invention. It became so powerful in gold and silver all the way down here. Es casi imposible. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk to you about something. When people ask you, so Juan, Kino, Grande, Mr. Donut, Thurston Howell, which is the watch I should start out with, People ask you that. Which watch should I start off with? And I have something that I have to tell you today because I need to get you guys aware of this, because nobody from the watch business is going to tell you this. But I will, because I'm a very, very kind man. And I will. And I'm going to talk to you about a watch. And when I tell you this, you're going to go, wow, this has to be something big. The people that even collect this watch are people that have very grand complication watches. Patek Philippe's, Blancpain, Daniel Roth, you found Breguet, monster watches, Maquinaria Brutal, Bacheron, supersonic watches, But these people that collect these watches, even these people buy this watch and want to keep it forever. And maybe you guys know about this already, and maybe you don't. But in 1963, there was a watch released, an unbelievable watch that was released with the Le Mans colors. You remember the Le Mans, the GT40 Ford? They made that car to compete against Ferrari. I don't know if you guys are, race car savvy, but they had a Ferrari that was, killing a lot of people, and they came out with a monster car, which was the Ford GT40, an unbelievable machine, right? And it had the colors, the light baby blue with the orange, you know what I'm talking about, right, guys? Escúchame grande, listen to me. So they came out with this watch, and it's unbelievable, this watch, They came out with it, and people were happy with the, with that beautiful color in 63. And ladies and gentlemen, in 1963, this watch was automatic and it had a date. Listen to this. Date. Tuesday, the 24th, automatic. And it had that strap, all stainless steel, automatic in 63. And people were going crazy. And it had type of a turtle, turtle shape, casing, something like that. I don't know, turtle. I don't know what it was, a frog. I don't know. I'm gonna call it a turtle, and the watch was a success. And ladies and gentlemen, this watch is called it's unbelievable. This watch. You guys are gonna be in shock because nobody is telling you this, but I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you because I am like that. It's called the Seiko Sportsmatic. The Seiko Sportsmatic in 1963. Unbelievable, man. I mean, this watch, it was unbelievable. And ladies and gentlemen, they came back with this watch. And it just happened. I always wait. I give those Michiganers the benefit of the doubt to see if they're going to help you out. But they're not going to help you out because it's not to their concern. And you might say, man, Juan, you should be quiet too because you want to get one and Kino wants to get one. We all want to get one. But let me explain to you something. That watch has been re-released again, ladies and gentlemen. It did it in 63, in 68, it came back again. And ladies and gentlemen, to my astonishment, it is back again. And I'm going to show this watch to you. After I show you this watch, I'll talk to you a little more about this watch because it's a watch that if I don't get it, because we're all going to chase this watch. We are all going to chase this watch. Listen and learn. We're going to chase this watch, ladies and gentlemen. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. This watch, I'm going to let you take a look at it. Here it is. This is the Le Mans colors of the watch. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Unbelievable, that watch, It looks like a Le Mans, a Le Mans car. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look at it. Take a look at it. You saw it first here. Nobody is going to do what I do. And what I do because I'm stupid like that. That's why I do it, And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's the watch. And ladies and gentlemen, that watch is going to start from $315 to $460. But this is the catch, ladies and gentlemen. They are only producing of this watch. They are only producing, and I advise every single one of you because I want to get one too. And if I don't get it, I don't get it. And maybe one of you guys will get it. And I want to see it on your wrist. I want to see a picture of it because I told you about it, And this watch, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to believe they're only making 2,025 limited pieces. 2,000, ladies and gentlemen. Esto es un relojazo. I'm telling you, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this watch right here, like I'm telling you, this is what they call a beginner's watch. And those people that have those grand complications have this watch. They have the original 1963 one, 63, Steve McQueen, todos esos locos, those people, they have that watch. And this is the watch that all of you, as I'm talking to you right now, you should be looking at it right now on the internet. You should get on it right now, And I'm going to tell you again, this watch is a Seiko number 5. It's called a Seiko number 5. And this is unbelievable, this watch. Papi, this is an automatic in-house Seiko automatic movement, papi. Don't get confused, man. Just because, estos chinos locos, los chinos de allá, ching, pero es una jodienda. And the movement that it has, this watch is unbelievable. People that had this watch back in the day was, the guy from, Karate People. What's his name? That he also, I think he died because he was taking, medicine and it killed him. He was a karate expert. Bruce Lee, Bruce Lee was one of them that had that watch always in his hand. Bruce Lee, that guy, the karate guy, and some other actors had this watch, but I'm going to give you Bruce Lee so you understand what I'm trying to say. The watch was very, very increíble. And this watch, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to show you something else because, you guys need to see this. This watch has, let me see this. It's also on YouTube. You can see it. It's called the Seiko 5 Sports, the Bamford Limited Edition. And it has a movement that is the movement that it has is the 4R36 automatic. Number 4, the letter R, and 36. That is the movement that it has in-house. And they're making only 2,025 limited pieces of that watch. And they go from $315 to $460. I don't know too much about it, but I do want to get one of those watches. And those watches, when these Michiganers get their hands on them, it's like the Swatch watch, But this is better than a Swatch watch. It has an automatic movement, para la gente grande. You understand what I'm trying to say? So, don't let that, don't let that one go by on you, It's a very reasonable price. It's not a Submariner, It's not a Submariner. It's this watch right here again. It's that watch right there. It's a beautiful watch. I think of it. I'm dying to get it. And, if anybody gets it and wants to, and give it to me at retail, I take it. Right there. And, look into it. There's a little video on it. I'm going to see if it works so you guys can look into it. And here, this is the video, I believe, right here. And that's what it is, right, ladies and gentlemen? So that's what it is, It's a new Seiko that just came out, and everybody, all these Michiganers are gonna go crazy now, getting this watch, and they're gonna, put it in the gray market, and So there it is. I wanted you guys to know that. I hope that this information that I've given you today, I really have. I said I should give it to them before, they go down to the watch show on Friday. I don't know what it is in New York, and they're all going to be there. All these companies and toda esta rata y toda esa gonorrea, they're going to run and try to get that watch. And Bruce Lee had it. Now it costs so much. I don't know how much, but I'm trying to tell you. You're not going to spend for this watch $10,000, $12,000. You're going to spend, if you get it, you're going to get it at retail between $315 and $460 plus your taxes, And it's a very, I'm telling you, you might be thinking, yo me lo pongo. I'll put it on and I'll rock it. And papi, when you see that little strap, with the colors of Le Mans of the Ford GT40, eres una jodienda. All right, guys? I hope you so far, you're getting all the stuff today that I'm giving, You know what I'm trying to say. I'm a little bit today, a little bit sad of what happened over there, over there with the Hamas people already starting to do their not so nice things, with their own people over there, committing all these atrocities over there. And the guy from Pennsylvania Avenue is now scratching his head, and he already said it. We're gonna have to duke it out with these people. Papi, these people don't understand, no entienden. They don't understand. And like I told you again, to the ones that don't know, that agreement that they made over there, it wasn't an agreement like, okay, it's done. We did something, it's peace forever. No. Listen to this agreement. This agreement is, while you're in the White House, we're going to be cool. But after you're gone, we go at it again. ¿Tú entiendes? They only understand one language, papi. Esa gente son, and so, Marquito the pet, Marco Rubio the pet, the lap pet, he And then, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something else, because I have to tell you this too. You know, we have a situation over there with Russia and Ukraine. And Russia already doesn't want no problems with the United States of America. And let me explain to you why. And this is what they say. They say that Russia has used up a lot of their ammunition. And at this moment, they cannot take on, they're doing Ukraine. And then if the United States comes in, they don't have a lot of ammo. That's what they're saying, allegedly. I'm not saying that, allegedly. So there's a lot of things, and you're thinking, why are you saying all this? I'm talking about gold. We're talking about gold. And that shutdown, government shutdown, the experts already saying that it's going to break the old record of, I think Mr. Donut told me 35 days, 32 days. They say, listen, I don't want it to break. I want it to finish already. But let me just say this, and if I may, to all of you, it's all a business, man. It's all a business. It's all a business. One day celebrating, and the people from over there already doing crazy things. They're already doing crazy things. We're going to let go of the hostages, and we're also going to give you all the remains of all the bodies that passed away. I don't know what happened to them. No remains returned back to us, just the hostages. And then today, they're putting people on their knees. Boom, 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 boom. Papi, estamos virados al revés. We're upside down. And I'm not preaching this. I'm telling you how I see why, precious metal materials are behaving the way they're behaving. Rhodium today jumped up $300, jumped up $7,575 is the troy ounce price. Look at this, 20 billions to Argentina. Papi, it's too many things going on. It's too many things going on, and I don't see this thing stopping anywhere. I don't see it stopping anywhere right now. And I'm telling you, the guy from Pennsylvania, with Marquito Rubio, I give him more credit. But you're dealing with people que son una rata. So una rata. So all of you need to get prepared, because I told you that when E.F. Hutton gets involved, esto se jodió. And I told you what Wall Street is doing, papi. They want a piece of it. Wall Street told everybody, get out of the way. Get out of the way. And then, get out of the way, and they're getting all those people, get out the way, 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 get out the way. I'm coming in with the bull. Wall Street, where that bull is over there in Wall Street. They're getting involved. And ladies and gentlemen, let me say one more time. I need to tell you this. Right now, major institutions are pouring money into precious metal alongside this beautiful word, BRICS. And my Organic Watch Channel subscribers show me that's China, India, Russia. If I'm missing a name, please put it up there for me. They show me that. I don't even know what BRICS is, I don't even know what BRICS is, but they are coming there together. All of them, and it's unbelievable. Metals alongside BRICS nations, expanding their reserves. Papi, they're all, Papi, cash me in. Cash me in everything. You understand me? Papi, these people know too much. These people know too much. It's a phone call. Put it away. Put it all down. Forget about it. How about that thing, that coin, that currency? Forget about that. The new one is gold. That's it. Listen to me. When I saw that Wall Street was getting involved in this, my hairs went boom. I said, esto se jodió. Esto se jodió. And if you were not here earlier, I'll say it one more time. Wall Street already declared. Wall Street declared that gold is at $5,000 already. at 5,000 already. And then, son una sabandija, they're so cruel that they write down, and gold can go all the way up. It can go all the way up. But it can happen in 26. This is how they do it. It can happen in 26. It can happen in 27, 28, 29, and 30. Do you know what Wall Street said? What number they said? Papi, when these people say these numbers, they're not frogging around. Esa gente no van a perder. Esa gente no se meten en el partido. These people don't get into the game to lose. You know, this is like, you know, what they have done to our young children today. When I was a young man, you put a couple of coins on a football game and you get an over on the line. And you get minus, you know, this, that, 3 points, 7 points, 6.5. Papi, today you have retired boxers coming in to give commercials about, you know, rock hard, betting this, betting that. La gente tan loca. La gente tan loca. And all that's rigged. You know, like E.F. Hutton. You know, it's all rigged. A phone call away, Mike Tyson making commercials, sitting down with a university student, and he's cashing in. Papi, it's like that. It's like that. And you're not going to see the guy making a commercial. What's his name? Mayweather, Floyd, Sleepy Floyd, whatever, Floyd. No, they corrected him already. Floyd has been corrected. There's no commercial for you. You know, you ran your mouth too much, and we're going to correct you. We're going to send Elvis, Michael Jackson, and Whitney Houston to visit you, you know? And that's how it is. They have all these kids enviciados. They have become addicts. Addicts. He's already sleeping already. Exactly. They told them, shh, no, don't run your mouth no more. Stop throwing money away in the clubs and those, you know, those where those girls dance nasty, you know, giving all the money there. Stop that. I know what I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen. I got to talk to you this way so you guys could open up your horizons and see far, you know? And see, this is a moment, ladies and gentlemen, that you cannot fall asleep, because if you fall asleep, te comen los camarones. Se te van los camarones, papi, se te van los camarones. You need to get on the bus. Get on the bus, Gus. You know what I'm saying? Esto está jodido. But ladies and gentlemen, when Wall Street gets involved and Wall Street says, is going to go to $10,000. I don't believe 27, I don't believe 28, and I don't believe 29, I don't believe 30. 10,000 is already here already, bro. The phone call has been decided. The phone call has been decided. Papi, to fill up all the gold we have in the world, we only need, single moms, they need the money. Wow. You're hurting single moms. They need the money. Okay. I'm hurting moms. Wow. Okay. What I'm saying is, to fill up all the gold that we have in the world, we need 3 Olympic-sized swimming pools, 164 long by 82 wide by 6 feet 7 inches deep. That's it. And everybody's fighting for it, bro. And the Vatican is over there. You know, the Vatican is sitting pretty over there with the Rothschild. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, who has the money makes all the rules. You don't know about that. Who has the money makes all the rules. No, okay, the president is going to make the rules. He doesn't have all the money. He doesn't have all the money. The Vatican. Ready? All of us together. You know, who has the money makes all the rules. That's how they say it, you know? Like the moose, you know? Like the moose. Who has the money makes the rules, papi. You know, you got the Shiba Jews, the Rothschilds, and the Vatican. That's it. And then the rest are below that, papi. I'm just letting you guys know that you need to know about this. Let me give you a small little watch market update so you guys can be happy, all of you. You know, I'm going to talk to you about, I think his name was Alex. You know, Alex was very involved in this watch. It's a Rolex stainless steel date just 41 millimeter. The Azure blue, you know, blue dial. You know, some unbelievable with a fluted bezel, you know, fluted, you know, a little white gold on it, you know. Reference number 126334 with a Jubilee bracelet. Unbelievable looking time machine, ladies and gentlemen. 41 millimeter. Unbelievable. You know, to me, it's one of the most beautiful blue dials out there. For real. For real. Square business. And ladies and gentlemen, Jubilee bracelet with a 10,900 retail price. It was you. You see that? I know it was you, Alex. And I'm going to tell you, but this one doesn't have diamond markers, Papa. I forget, next time, I promise you I'll give you the diamond markers next time. But this one is just a plain, you know, Azure blue dial. And I'm going to tell you, you do yourself a favor. And let me tell you, Alex, I mean, okay, some people like diamonds. That's all right. Don't pay for this watch. Don't pay for this watch more than $12,800. You do whatever you want. You know, it's very strange to see a date just that still is standing tall and strong, you know, standing tall and strong, and still it has a little bit of skin on the bone, you know, has a little skin, you know. So there it is, you know, it's what it is. You do whatever you want. It's your money. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk to you about a watch. Out of all the dates out there, my preference in size and the way it looks like a pancake, you know, is the 41 millimeter, you know, the 41 millimeter date, you know, it's white gold and it has a beautiful chocolate, you know, Roman brown dial. Beautiful watch. And ladies and gentlemen, this watch, you know, if you guys can get this watch, you want it with all the bells and whistles. It's a 41 millimeter, Alex. 41, but it's a date, white gold, you know, chocolate, brown, Roman numbered, you know, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. You know, sometimes, for some reason, this watch should be up there, you know, all the way up, but it's not up there. And they're trying to hype it up now because of the gold, the way gold is behaving, lottie. And there's these watches out there that have all the links. They have the box, they have the papers, they have everything. And ladies and gentlemen, some people have that watch out there for 35, 36, 37, 34, that price. But I'm going to tell you, cash is king. Cash is king. And when you have cash, you dominate the conversation. You laugh in their faces. You laugh in their faces. You just show it to them. Here it is right here. In my pocket, right here. Don't pay for that watch more than $31,000. Right? And you want it with all the bells and whistles. You don't want this watch naked. You don't want this watch naked. You want this watch with all the bells and, you know, it's an unbelievable watch. I still don't know, after so many years being retired, discontinue, you know, flatline, you know, collector's dream, collector's choice, collector's grade, collector's unit, collector's grave, you know, dead. It hasn't moved. It's just there. Don't pay more than $31,000, okay? There it is. Our next watch, ladies and gentlemen, is an FP Journe. FP Journe. Listen to this watch, ladies and gentlemen. Because I tell you that FP Journe watches, you know, they have us all, you know, in categories. You know, they have us all in categories. And they know already. They know this person is a Rolex person, and he mixes it up with a little AP, you know, a regular AP, and that's it. Then you got this person that has the Rolex, the AP, and a Patek, and then you got this league over here that they got AP, you know, Patek, Richard Mille. They have us all in you know, in a different category in FP Journe. You know, FP Journe. You know, you're in that level, papi. Eres un monstruo. You're a monster. You know, you got all the, you know, the Fab Five. You know, you have everything. You know, So this watch, this FP Journe is an off catalog, Octaloon, Salmendao, platinum, the case is platinum. The case is platinum, has a Salmendao, and it has a purple bracelet, and it also comes in a gray bracelet. I prefer the gray bracelet with the salmon. It looks monstrous, you know? And this is an off-catalog watch, un monstruo de reloj, a monster of a watch. I don't want to tell you the numbers these people were playing with. You know, it's whales all day, every day. You're a whale, you know? You're a mammoth, colossal. You know, eres un monstruo, you know? And some people have it out there for 215, 220, 240, $700,000 at one moment, 750. They take you back there. You know, they give you a massage. You know, I don't know what kind of massage it is. You know, the secondary grade watch market will give you. They give out massages too. You know, just in case you don't know that. You know, so that watch is an unbelievable watch. And I'm going to tell you, I already told you the prices they have it at. Don't pay for that watch. Don't pay. And listen to me, I wouldn't even pay for that. Not at this moment. You heard everything I told you. I talked to you about, you know, a Kratom, you know, Kratom that they sell in all those 9-11 stores and, you know, convenience stores. I told you what's happening with Wall Street. I told you what's happening with Hamas and, you know, the guy from over there from Pennsylvania Avenue. You know, Wall Street. I'm telling you everything that I'm telling you. I'm telling you, if you don't have to, don't get involved in that watch. Because, you know, you can do a lot of things, you know, like you can buy $200,000 worth of gold. Don't pay for that FP Journe, Platinum, Salmendao, off catalog, Octaloon. Don't pay more than $195,000. 195. You do whatever you want. All right? You do whatever you want. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk to you about another watch. It is the AP Royal Oak Blue Dial. Reference number, listen and learn. Reference number 15300, stainless steel, 39 millimeter. Little jumbo, you know, the little jumbo. And ladies and gentlemen, you want this watch full set. You know, this is like the 16202. But this is the 15300. Beautiful watch. Beautiful watch with a blue dial. With a blue dial. You know, these are the watches that you guys should be looking into, you know? You know, el mango bajito, you know, the low mango, you know, the mango. You easy to get it, you know? Easy to get it. Wow, Mr. Donner, man. Wow. Unbelievable. It's, you know, wow, long hanging fruit. That's it, long hanging fruit. You get it, and that's it. And this is a watch that you have to know about this watch. You have to know about these reference numbers. This is like the 16202 or the 15202. You know, those jumbo, ultra thin. You know, like that. But this is the 15300. You know, it's an unbelievable looking time machine. And I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you do whatever you want. You love that watch, okay, Mr. Donut? It's a beautiful watch. And when I tell you the price, you're going to go, coño. You know, they're asking for the 16202. They're asking 61, 62, 65, 75. You know, that numbers, you know. It is less than that, but I'm just telling you the way the numbers look. And the 16202 and the 15202, 57, 58, 56, you know, full set, you know, with all the bells and whistles. And I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Donut put the $34,000. I can't say $34,000 because if I say $34,000, I am lying to you. And I don't practice that too well. I don't practice that. But don't pay for that watch more than $37,000. They have it out there for 43, 44, for this, 40. That's the number I gave you. That's the number you should look for. And if you're looking for the watch, study it, look at it. It's an unbelievable time machine, right? Ladies and gentlemen, there's a Vacheron Constantin overseas. Vacheron Constantin overseas, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming up now. The 6000 V, V as in Victor, slash 210 T. T is for titanium. Titanium. Blue dial. Blue dial. This is a monster watch. This watch belongs in that category with the, Octaluna FP Jordan, AP, Paddock, and all that good stuff. It's a tourbillon. A tourbillon. Papi, it's a tourbillon. Un aparato. Un aparato de reloj. You have that watch with a tourbillon on a stainless steel, but this one is titanium, lighter, a beautiful watch. A beautiful watch. It has an open back case, skeleton. It's brutal. It's the top of the stainless steel one. And let me tell you, that watch was, all the way up, all the way up. And I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you because you need to know this. Don't pay for that watch. I'm not going to get in here and talk to you about the Corona beer era, what it was, and this era, that era. Watch market is dead. It's dead. You do whatever you want with your money. You can continue maintaining these flim-flammers lifestyle, who have been fleecing you guys out of your children's tuition money for years until Sweet Kikino decided to open this channel. And he brought me as the voice because Sweet Kikino is the brains and I am the voice. Don't pay for that beautiful blue dial. Overseas, 6000 V. Blue dial, tourbillon, titanium. Don't pay for that watch more than $81,500. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, it's not the moment to be giving away $81,000 or $200,000. It's not the moment. Continue taking out your family to go have a steak, a nice steak, a wagyu, go have a wagyu, a little wine, and that's it. Porque esto se va a descojonar. Esto se va a descojonar. Scout's Honor, esto se va a descojonar. Esto se va a descojonar. Esto se va a caer. This is going to fall. This is going to fall like is it called the Berlin Wall? That guy, what's his name? The guy that was, sí, señor, tú lo sabes, coño. Julius, tú lo sabes, Julius of Miami. Tú lo sabes, papi. Tú lo sabes, tú lo puedes ver. Usted no es un hombre lambón. Usted es un hombre exitoso. De primera. El alta. Esto se va a caer, papi. You might be saying, but one is not making no more watch market up there. Yeah, I can make it every day, but I'm trying to give you the message, papi. Esto está jodido, papá. Esto está jodido. And what do I get when I give you this? This deep. I get that deep. And that's all right. That's all right. Ladies and gentlemen, you have another watch that you guys, sometimes these watch people make mistakes like designers. And the one that I say that makes the most mistakes in this watch, I gotta be honest, and you know who they are. They're the king, but they make mistakes. The king, the king, look at the middle. The king makes mistakes. They took out that, Rolex GMT, with the green dial, white gold, green and black ceramic bezel, and they have one with a Jubilee black dial with a green and black ceramic bezel, and they have it with a Jubilee and an oyster bracelet, and you put them together side by side, y es la misma mierda con diferente peste. La misma mierda. Don't pay. Don't pay. You want me to tell you the retail price of that watch is $48,400. $48,400. That's the retail price of that watch. Ladies and gentlemen, no sean lambones. Don't give. I mean, this is the same watch you can put in the same category as the Rolex root beer, you know, rose gold, you know, with that black and, I don't know, brownish ceramic bezel. It's a beautiful, ese reloj, the root beer, it gives 20 kicks to that green one with the, I'm just being honest, you know? $48,400. Don't pay for that watch more. Don't pay for that watch. So if you believe the root beer is dead, imagine this one. People are getting phone calls to picking them up, and people say, hey, let's get out of here, man. I don't want this watch. Don't pay for that watch, and you do whatever you want, but don't pay for that watch more than $43,500. And okay, don't do it. You do. I have to give you that drop to wake you up, to wake up. And ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you one more watch that they're trying to get you guys, but I won't let that happen. It is the Rolex Daytona John Mayer, the original John Mayer with the green dial, you know? John Mayer, the people bought it for 185, 150, 145, 125, and they're out there asking for that watch $66,000, you know? Trying to get you guys, trying to hope for a wish. You know, hope for a wish to get this watch, $77,000. Ladies and gentlemen, you do yourself a favor and you do whatever you want. You do whatever you want, but don't pay for that watch. Don't pay. When you have to say how it is, you say the way it is, and that's it. That's how you see it. This is the number I see. You do whatever you want, but don't pay for that watch more. Don't pay more than $61,000. All right? You do whatever you want. This is already an old watch. You do whatever you want. You do whatever you want. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my watch market update show for the evening. I hope you learned something. Put all this information, you know, as your arsenal. Put it away in your drawer. Put it away so you can come out blazing and you can talk correctly. All right, guys? No sean lambones. No sean lambones. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Thank you so much. I'm going to call it quits. And like I say always, take care and brush your hair. Good night, guys. Good night.